piece of fish.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. We will keep this fairly brief, but we are honored to have two very, very distinguished Americans with us today, along with the ticket that's running on the Republican side in the election next Tuesday. A great ticket, by the way. We owe so much to those of you in uniform and otherwise in the law enforcement world. You make our place safe, and we owe you so much. But we wanted, the Vice President and the Governor wanted to meet with you to listen and to share ideas about the work that you are engaged in. I have served under a number of governors in this state, a bunch.
He's been around a couple of years now. Might keep him. Yeah.
But I have not seen or experienced a governor who has spent more time in eastern Kentucky or has spent more money there in the public good and has listened to our people with their problems, and we've got a bunch. But this governor has been there with us on the ground, sharing our pain and doing the good work that he was selected to do. So it's my great honor and pleasure to present to you, I think, the next governor of Kentucky, Matt Bevin.
Thank you. I'll tell you what, you guys are awesome. To be introduced by a man who truly is a great American, as a couple of great guys, is very much of an honor, and I'm grateful. They're really, we were joking backstage that he was going to tee things off without an introduction. We thought of any of us, is there anyone who doesn't need an introduction, unlike Congressman Rogers, what he's done here for this community. Thank you. Let me just say this. I'm grateful to those of you in law enforcement. It's great to be back here in the Burg. I was here just about 3 weeks ago for a Friday night football game, and it's just these communities. This is the heartbeat of America. This is the lifeblood of America, certainly of Kentucky, certainly of this southeastern quadrant of Kentucky. It is an honor for us to be here. I'm grateful to have the Vice President of the United States, the Second Lady of the United States, a couple who we have known for some years, even before they were in these roles, but they have always been servants. They have always been people who have given of themselves for the good of others. And how blessed we are to live in a country where men and women are willing to step forward and do these things, and now serving at the national level, but willing to come back, come into the small communities, the towns that make up who we are as Americans. I'm grateful to be part of a ticket that is transforming this state. Some of those that I'm running with have been elected previously and are running again. Two are running for filling a seat that is currently held by the other party. And while this isn't meant to be necessarily purely partisan, I will say this. There's never been in the history of Kentucky, and this is for those of you especially that are part of a national press, there's never been a slate more conservative than those that are on the ballot that are sitting in this front row. And there has never literally been a more liberal slate on the other side. So the disparity between the two parties and the two slates of candidates is as wide as it has ever been. And this is why I think it bodes well for Republicans. Not because Republicans always have everything right, because Republicans have all the perfect solutions, but because the values that we represent, the defense of the sanctity of human life, respect for our Constitution, for the men and women in law enforcement, for God and country, for the things upon which this state and this nation were founded, these are things proudly, unapologetically defended by those of us on this Republican slate. And in addition, and for those just of you that are watching, the people that are here are Ryan Quarles, who's our state ag commissioner. We have Mike Adams, who's running for Secretary of State. Daniel Cameron, who's running for Attorney General. Ralph Alvarado, Lieutenant Governor. Allison Ball, State Treasurer. Mike Harmon, our State Auditor. We have our Senate President here, Robert Stivers. We have Regina Huff, who is one of our state representatives. You take a look at the slate of candidates that have been put forward this year. There's a lot of talk in politics about inclusion, about diversity. There has never been a more diverse slate put forward in Kentucky, or I'd say almost anywhere in this country. We have 7 constitutional officers that are being put forward for next year, 7. And they include men and women. Those of us who are black, white, Hispanic, those of us from rural communities, those of us from urban communities, those who have been born in this state, those who have been born outside of this state. Some of us who have been part of, in some cases, 8, 9 generations of family here in Kentucky, others who are first-generation Americans. This is the Republican Party of Kentucky and of America. This is who we are. This is diversity. It is the face, a microcosm of America in the American electorate. This is not a game. This is not just ours or D's. It's not just a us or them. This is serious business, not only for Kentucky, but for America. We're at a crossroads, people often say, but I would submit to you that it's more of a fork in the road. We're going to continue to move forward in one direction or go backwards. And not only in Kentucky do we not want to see that in 2019, we don't want to see it in 2020. It's why I'm honored to stand with those who stand for us, those who truly protect and to serve. Well, I couldn't think of a more appropriate group for us to stand with. Seriously, these are men and women who go into harm's way every single day, are willing to do things that we are not willing to do, that take a pittance relative to what we would have the ability to pay them, even if we could, relative to what they provide for us. And they and their families have great risk to protect and to serve. And I'm just grateful to each and every one of you. I thank you all very, very much. Grateful to you. On behalf of my wife used to be a charge nurse in an ER and knew the equivalence of all of you when she was in that rural hospital because she would see you on a regular basis. Thank you for being here. And thank you all for coming. And I just want to have you welcome a man who truly has been such a gift to America. He was a gift as a congressman to his state. After that, as a governor to his state. Prior to that, he did what so many of you did, in the media, both in television and radio. But he's a guy who has always used his voice, his intellect, his life experience to look out for those around him and to provide, to give back, to be a true public servant. So please help me welcome to this august group right here, a good friend of mine, a good friend of Kentucky's, the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence.
Thank you, Governor Bevin. Thank you to First Lady Glenna. Thank you for your great leadership, your great partnership with our administration. When President Trump and I were campaigning through Kentucky 3 years ago, we said we could make America safe again. We said we could make America prosperous again. We said we could affirm all the foundational constitutional principles, have men and women appointed to our courts who will uphold all the God-given liberties enshrined in our founding documents again. And 3 years later, I'm proud to report, in strong partnership with Governor Matt Bevin, President Donald Trump has delivered. We've gotten this economy rolling again, just like Governor Matt Bevin did. This president arrived in Washington, D.C., and with a strong partnership with our allies on Capitol Hill, we cut taxes across the board for working families and businesses large and small. We, just like your governor did, we cut red tape at historic levels. We've stood by American energy independence. The war on coal is over, and the American economy and Kentucky's economy are booming as a result of the leadership of President Donald Trump and Governor Matt Bevin. And I want to acknowledge my great admiration for one of those members of Congress who I had the privilege of serving with for 12 years on Capitol Hill while I represented the state of Indiana. He actually chaired the Appropriations Committee, but he never lost the common touch. I mean, to know your congressman is to know a man of faith and integrity who always put the interest of Eastern Kentucky first. And he's been a champion for this region. He's been a champion for our military. He's been a champion for law enforcement. And let me just say, not only Kentucky, but America owes a debt of gratitude to the long and distinguished service of Congressman Hal Rogers. Everything we've been able to do over the last 3 years in Washington, D.C. would not have been possible without the strong, unwavering partnership that Congressman Rogers and a Republican majority in those first 2 years of our administration made possible. So, Congressman, I want to thank you. The economy is booming again, but President Trump said we were going to make America safe again. And I'm proud to report, and I'm proud to be a vice president who served alongside a president who's made the largest investments in our national defense since the days of Ronald Reagan. We've rebuilt our military. I know the men and women who are standing around us today wearing this uniform. Many of you wore the other uniform, and we thank you for your service. But as the world saw this last weekend, the investments in our armed forces have made the strongest military in the history of the world stronger still. And with the successful raid that took out the leader of ISIS, America and the world are safer. Thanks to our armed forces and our commander-in-chief. But while the American military defends our nation and sees to America's defense around the world, the men and women that are gathered around us here today keep our families safe every day at home. And I want to assure you that from the first day of this administration, you have a president and a governor who have stood without apology for the men and women of law enforcement and our first responders. Before Governor Bevin came into office, before President Trump came into office, it had been a challenging time for law enforcement. We all remember those days. It seemed like many reflexively wanted to blame law enforcement any time tragedy would strike. But that's no more. This president's worked closely with your congressman and with your governor to make sure our local law enforcement, through Homeland Security and various other agencies, have the resources and the support that you need. And we have, alongside your governor, this president has given the men and women of law enforcement the respect that you earn every single day, and we always will. And so I just wanted to come by today and say, on behalf of myself and my wonderful wife, Karen, who is traveling with me today, thank you for your service. You know, the Bible says if you owe debts, pay debts. If honor, then honor. If respect, then respect. And while we stopped and grabbed a couple of hamburgers down at Shep's, big ones, and we're headed off to a rally with this outstanding ticket running statewide in Kentucky, I just couldn't miss the opportunity to come by and pay a debt of gratitude to the men and women that are standing around us here today. The people of Kentucky and the people of America are grateful to each and every one of you every single day. You answered a calling in your life that required you to decide that our lives are more important than yours. And I want you to know that we know that. Just as Governor Bevin just said, We understand. We understand the risks that you take. When you put on that uniform every morning and walk out the door, it's not like another job. And so let me not only say thank you to you, but let me say thank you to your families. Thank you to your spouses. Thank you to your kids and your grandkids and your parents. Because the men and women in uniform understand that it's not just they that serve, it's their families that support them and pray for them and encourage them. So let's thank the families of these great heroes as well. I don't know what it's like to wear the uniform that you wear. But I know what it's like to be a family member. My uncle was a Chicago police officer for 25 years. And when I was a little boy, me and my 3 brothers and 2 sisters would go up to Chicago. I'd see him dressed out, heading off to work. And that to me was what a hero looked like. And my cousin's husband just retired after 25 years from the Chicago Fire Department. Coincidentally, he's Irish. He's an extraordinary and courageous man. 2 years on disability from service-related injuries, but went right back into the fight. So that's why I just want to speak a word of gratitude to you. And more than anything else, a word of admiration. I know the hours are long. And as the governor said, we couldn't ever pay you what it's worth for the risks that you take and the lives that you save. But Karen and I just wanted to come by today, along with your governor and your first lady, just to make sure that you know every day the people of Kentucky and the people of America are grateful. Grateful for your service. And frankly, we're grateful to have a governor who's such a partner in public safety. From our first days in office, Governor Matt Bevin has been working with this administration shoulder to shoulder to uphold the rule of law, to help us enforce our laws at home, support law enforcement, and secure the southern border of the United States of America. And I'm proud to report in the last 4 months, we have cut illegal immigration at our southern border in half. And we've already started to build that wall. And Governor Matt Bevin has been there every step of the way, standing up for the rule of law, standing up for law and order. And that's why when I leave here in just a few minutes, we're going to go rally with a few friends and tell them just how much I want to see the people of Kentucky give Governor Matt Bevin 4 more years in the State House. But this stops about all of you, and I thank you for taking a minute to be with us. And I want to promise you, I know I can speak on behalf of your governor. I know I can speak on behalf of our president and this vice president and our entire administration when I say we're grateful for you. We're with you. We will continue to stand with you as you stand on the thin blue line of law enforcement, defending our families, our communities, this state, and this nation. May God bless you and keep you as you serve the people of this community and this state. Thank you all. Can we get a little group shot here?
Yeah, we'll sort of crunch everybody in. Try to get
Can you clap that blue one down there too, please? Here, CBS one.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're welcome.
You were there.
It is interesting. You